Good morning, everyone. If you give me 1 second, we'll go ahead and get started. I'm just trying to make sure that my link is set up to where everybody can be able to see me on YouTube, and then after that, we'll go ahead and get started from there. 1 second, we'll go ahead and get started. All right, there we go. All right, and we are live. This is Travis Witherspoon from Carter Cow Capital, Carter Cow Trading, and Trade with Travis on YouTube. Hopefully, everybody's doing very well. Getting ready to turn on live right now on Instagram as well. Hopefully, everybody's doing very well on this Wednesday morning. Today is October 14th. October has went by very quickly. And obviously it's voting season and everything else like that. I think me and my wife are going to end up going out and trying to vote today, and trying to do all that, make sure that we do our part when it comes down to that. But let's go ahead and take a look at the charts and let's see what's happening for the overall pairs. Then after that, we'll go ahead and move forward. So I'm not a CTA, so I'm not going to tell you whether to buy or to sell. What I'm going to do is teach you education, and from that education, you can be able to make your own informed decision about what you want to be able to do for as Forex trading. Now, understand that Forex involves risk. It involves risk of being able to make money, also involves risk of being able to lose money. So please keep that in mind, and understand that past performance is not indicative of future results, which means that if you end up making money yesterday, it's not promised that you're going to end up making money today. So with that being said, show myself onto the screen. Hopefully everybody's doing very well as we go through this Wednesday morning and being able to go through everything. If we take a look at the economic calendar, we can see that the European Central Bank and the Australian dollar are going to end up having some news that's going to end up happening today. But today is still considered a trader's day because there's not necessarily that much high impact news. There's going to be some impact news that just happened a little bit earlier. And then after that, we're going to have some impact news that's going to happen at the end of the day. So it's not like we're going to end up having a lot of impact news overall. Okay, so please keep that in mind. If you are new to here, this is what we do here. This is a live 30-minute session. What we end up doing is you can be able to ask questions. This will be pre-recorded for the people that don't necessarily wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning to be able to see what my thought process is when it comes down to Forex trading and being able to make a decision on what I'm going to end up doing for my trading and helping out my students and everything else like that. If you're interested in being able to learn a little bit more, you can go to cartercowcapital.com/start here. Hop inside of one of the free webinars that we end up having each and every day and schedule a time from there. Or you can be able to get registered for our boot camp that we're getting ready to have in 2 weeks now. It's actually rolling up again. That will end up being on October 26th through October 30th. So if you're interested in being able to hop in and drop into that, this month is probably going to end up being the biggest giveaways and things that we're going to end up doing for us. Overall ideas and stuff like that. We're actually adding a little bit more stuff onto the curriculum and being able to talk about that. And we'll talk about the NASDAQ a little bit while we're actually going through that. So if you would, do me a favor before we end up getting started. If you would share this video out to someone that you think that might end up liking this video. And so obviously we can be able to get a little bit more people interested in being able to go from there and see what we're doing. And then from there, obviously, just take your notes down, write something in the comment section, and ask some questions. Let's go ahead and get started. So, like I said, Euro Central Bank is just had a speech that ended up happening at 4 o'clock this morning. That information's over with at 7 o'clock now. That did not move the market as much as I thought it would. So, quite frankly, it was a moot point when it came down to that. A little bit later on today, we're going to end up having Governor Lowe speak from the Bank of Australia. And we have to see how that's going to end up affecting their overall market. And then after that, you're going to have unemployment rate and unemployment change. That's the equivalent of non-farm payroll when it comes down to the United States dollar. So we need to pay attention to that when it comes down to the jobs, because it may end up affecting pairs like the Australian yen, pairs like the Australian dollar, and a few other pairs like that. Now we go through and we take a look at the big three. Remember, the big three is the US dollar index. We end up taking a look at gold, and we take a look at oil. The reason why we look at those three is because they correlate very well with pairs that we're going to end up looking at and being able to trade overall. So We start off with the US dollar index. On the weekly, the market is still considered to be bearish. We end up breaking a counter trend line break to the downside, and currently right now we're looking at this break when it comes down to the trend line towards the upside. If it does break this trend line towards the upside, then I will go ahead and consider it to be bullish again. The only thing that I do not like is that the stochastic has already done risen all the way up to the sell zone, or close to the sell zone. With that being said, I'm going to consider this market to be bearish instead of being bullish. So I will be looking for more sell trades when it comes down to the United States dollar and selling against the United States dollar instead of buying. So with that being said, when we go to the daily, obviously we want to check and see if that kind of aligns. If that doesn't align, then that means that we don't have a trade. If you look at what's happening with the US dollar index currently right now, we can see that this market ended up breaking bullish. We ended up making all of our money in September based off of this move. Since then, October has pushed the market down. It gave us the opportunity to possibly be able to do it. It was a fake break on this overall candlestick right here, and then made a new lower low. And then after that, since then, it's made a morning star. You don't know what a morning star is? Once again, please hop inside of one of our boot camps. This is one of our identifiers that a trend is about to change. So we got a counter trend line break. We got a candlestick formation. The market just came from the buy zone. We have a precision point entry trade that we could be looking at for this overall trade. And currently right now, the market is just retesting this overall zone. So looking at this, if this market continues to go bullish, then after that, that may end up changing my mind about what we should do for us looking at being able to buy. But typically, when you end up having a candlestick formation like this, the market typically ends up retesting. So we have to look and see how the market is going to retest before making a move on this one. So overall, the US dollar on this one would be considered to be bullish. So weekly is bearish, daily is bullish. There's no trade to be able to take. I'm out of the US pairs when it comes down to being able to look at this overall trade. So I'm going to consider that one to be sideways. There's no decision when it comes down to the market. We look at what's happening with oil. Oil's still going through a consolidated pattern. And overall, if we're looking at this overall pair, we can see that this market has went through an ABCD sequence, went up to the 618, went back up to the 618, and currently is falling down at this particular point. The market is close to the sell zone, but because it is in consolidation, we go based off of consolidated rules. Those rules are very simple. You buy a support, you sell a resistance. Everywhere else, you don't do anything. Now, well, this is considered to be everywhere else because this market is basically in the middle of this overall area. So with that being said, if I'm looking at trying to trade on oil, I would not do it because we missed the opportunity. That opportunity ended up happening on Friday. Now, think about this. If the US dollar starts to go a little bit bullish, then we should see a little bit of a drop down when it comes down to price. But this will affect the Canadian dollar more than it will affect any other pair. So the Canadian dollar and all of its pairs, kind of like the Canadian yen, US CAD, Canadian Swiss franc, all of them probably should be in a position to where you're looking at some slight consolidation as well. So with that being said, I'm out of the market on that one. Not interested in being able to trade that one either. We go and take a look at gold. What ended up happening with gold is that the market is considered to be long-term bullish right now. We end up having a huge move, and then after that, we had a consolidated pattern. We broke out of that move. We went and we made a new field toward the upside. And currently right now, if we see how this market is kind of reacting, we're basically pushing back up to where this field actually was. But we have an evening start at this particular point in time. And with us having an evening start at this point in time, that means that we have a bearish candlestick formation that should expect that we should see some bearish movement to the downside. Now, with that being said, the question is, does that match up with the daily? As my son, what are you doing? I'm doing the charts, baby. As my son ends up waking up, there we go. Here we go. Say hey. Say hey to everyone. Hey. Say hey. Hey. Say hey. Hey. There we go. You gonna help me out today? Today? Yes. Yeah. There we go. Okay, so. Okay. So we look at the market right here based off of the weekly. We can end up saying that this market is considered to be bullish. The market is in the buy zone, so I am looking for a bullish trade towards the upside, but the candlestick formation to the downside is not helping me out on my overall case of saying that I should be looking to buy. All right, so the weekly is expected to be bullish, right? We don't have a counter trend line break yet to be able to prove that it's ready to go because it's reacting off of this counter trend line. It broke above this overall trend line right here, this purple line, but we can see that the market is actually below it right now. So going into the daily, the question will end up being, are we going to have extended movement to the downside? And is this evening star going to end up being the reason why this market starts to move to the downside? If we look at this, look at the way that the candlestick formation is kind of reacting today, we can see that the market is testing this overall trend line again. If stop. If this market starts to push up, stop. If this market starts to push up and retest its overall candlestick formation and breaks above the high, then that means that this market is going to be considered to be fully bullish. Okay, both my sons came down here. All right, well, let's go ahead. Come here, Mouse. Come here. And you got to say hey, too, if we're going to do this. Obviously, it's 7 o'clock in the morning in the Witherspoon household. And typically, both of these boys don't be up. So, we got both of them. Say hey. Say hey. There we go. This is Mason Kyle. This is Miles Carter. Obviously, if you understand our business model, our business name is Carter Kyle Capital. So, obviously, I do it for my boys. So that's the reason why we're doing it. All right. Go ahead. Okay, so we take a look at gold. Gold is not in a position to be able to be traded as well. So all three of these pairs are basically saying no. Okay, well, is there something else that we could be able to trade? Well, let's take a look at the currency strength chart and see what's happening. Currently, right now, we can see that the New Zealand dollar was the strongest pair. Then after that, it dropped right back down to being in consolidation. And the pound was the weakest pair, and it dropped back into consolidation as well, but it's starting to be bullish. Everything currently right now is at a 20 range, which means that everything is consolidating, which means that there's really no particular pair to be able to look at this point in time when it comes down to currencies. Okay, well, in that case, let's look at the NASDAQ and let's see if do we have any type of trading opportunity to be able to get in on the NASDAQ and look at equities. Remember, on this overall pair, what we end up having was that overall, this market ended up breaking bullish based off of this early portion of the week. The market is getting close to the sell zone. Yesterday, we ended up having an indecisive day. Remember, when you have indecision, typically you end up having decision happen the next day. Currently, the market has completed a daily D extension at 12,200. And the market is basically should be retracing back to a 382 movement. So if we end up having another day of bearish movement, then we should see that this market will end up making a new field from the upside fields, and it should be somewhere around. Let me show you. This should be around somewhere of this area right here, where we have that will be our A, that will be our B. The market will expect to go to 12,911. Which means that it will actually end up breaking the B high and start to push up, which means that the weekly, in this case, will actually end up being in the push zone. If that does happen, then overall the market is expected to go down to, up to 16,074. All right, so basically what's happening is we're just going through the swings. If this market is, if we have a bearish day tomorrow, or we have a bearish day today, typically, this will end up setting up more of an evening star. Well, we've been seeing evening stars for the last few days, right? We actually see it earlier today on the U.S. dollar index. We see it on gold. We've seen it on. We actually end up seeing it on. What was the other pair that we just looked at? I think we just seen it on another pair from there that, quite frankly, yeah, on gold as well, where we're just looking at it, and overall, it's not necessarily giving us the best situation to be able to get in for swing trading. Now, scalp trading, we might be able to get into it for the overall move, but if I had to bet, I would say that we'll be looking for a sale on this overall move. Now, the one thing that I'll be looking for is this: as long as this market stays bearish, and as long as we end up getting a counter trend line break, I think that the short term move off of this would end up being bearish once we end up getting a counter trend line break. We don't have a counter trend line break as of yet, so there's no trading opportunity as of yet on this overall pair. So I wouldn't waste my money on this one, because remember, the NASDAQ 100 moves very quickly. So if you want to get into the best positions, and the only positions to be able to take will be the ones that will get you in safely. But if we do trade on this position, I would look to be able to trade down to 11,861, somewhere around that area. That will be the 382. If this market remains to be the same based off of this overall movement today, which will make this an R5 trade, and which will make it a very quick and healthy market to be able to get into once the market retraces and goes back to the upside. Okay, so if you're interested in being able to do that, you can do this with a lower risk once the market gives you a counter trend line break, with the market being in the sell zone, and if you can get a high price on the 2 hour. But currently right now, that's not the setup to be able to take. We're not there yet when it comes down to this overall move. Remember, point of control right now is at 11,335. I don't think that the market will fall back that low, but we do have to pay attention towards this overall move. We go to the 2 hour. We can get rid of this information because that information was correct. The market ended up hitting the D extension. So we have that move. Currently right now, I'm looking at more of a head and shoulders pattern on the 2 hour. And I don't know if y'all can notice that. Let's see, zoom in real quick. 12,200 has been an area where the market has rejected and has failed subsequently since then. I ended up looking at this yesterday for us being able to trade it, for us being able to scout the market. Was successful in some trades and wasn't successful in some other ones. We looked at this based off of the 5 minute. And let me tell you why I was looking at the 5 minute. We said that, quite frankly, or I'll give you a better way of being able to look at this. If this market ends up breaking below the 5 minute, then that means it's going to end up falling down at least to probably around that 11,960 area.